enjoy wearing them, so thank you. Well, welcome. I'm Mary Amlaw. This is the Liberty Tea Party Patriots. And who is new here tonight? Who's never been here before? Raise your hand. Oh, thank you. And I'd like you all to just call out whatever your Senate district or your BPOU number is. Just yell it out. I'm 32.
43.
48.
60.
31.
17? Wow. I know we've got a lot here tonight, so thank you again for being here. This is a great meeting place. For those of you who are new, and also as a review for the rest of us, here's why we do what we do. Liberty Tea Party Patriots is the first and the longest running Tea Party group in the state of Minnesota. How many of you remember us from way back when, in about 2009? This group formed in March of that year, the first of 59 groups that eventually formed all throughout the state by 2011. We're here to educate, motivate, and activate as part of the current Tea Party movement that stands against an out-of-control government of unconstitutional spending and taxation. We're an affiliate of the National Tea Party Patriots organization, which is a trademark name. The national organization actually defined this current movement, who we are and what we can do to reclaim our country that our founders envisioned. Tea Party Patriots' mission is to equip Americans with the resources and the training they need to be engaged and effective citizens. Its mission is for a nation where individual liberty is cherished and maximized, where the Constitution is revered and upheld, where Americans are free to pursue their American dream. Tea Party Patriots define the three core principles that are our guide for who and what to vote for. It's a guide for our policymakers at all levels to secure liberty-based policy. The first core principle is limited constitutional government, so we have personal freedom. The second is free market economics, so we have economic freedom and prosperity. And three is financial responsibility, so we have a debt-free future. Do you agree with that? Please pick up a brochure on your way out. It's at the welcome table. All that information is in here. Read it, share it. When you don't know what to say to your neighbor or that family member, you might just want to hand this to them. Does a lot of good things. Now, some of the people here tonight that help during these monthly meetings, it's a big thank you to Steve, the general manager of Willie McCoy's. He's out here serving tonight. Thank you, Sam, the banquet manager. She's standing in the door frame right over there. Thank you, Sam, for all you do. Oh, there's Steve right there. You just got a big applause, Steve. And the servers, Era and Sadie, Andrea, Taylor, Sierra, Ashton, and Danny the bartender. So thanks so much for supporting this local business. Your food and beverage orders in this copper banquet room are needed in order to keep this room and the servers for future meetings. So we appreciate the support. Most importantly, please come back and give them your business. It's a wonderful, wonderful restaurant. Sue Erickson, Don Bumgarner are greeting you at the door. Thanks, you guys, for all you do. Travis Ekbaum, he's our tech guy, and he provides us with this beautiful 8x12 flag at our meetings and all the decor that you see, including the centerpieces. Thank you, Travis, for And now I'd like to formally begin our meeting with a prayerful intention. Dale Witherington is the Chief Steward of Greensboro, Minnesota. He will lead us tonight in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mary. Good evening. This is a time where we combine God and country. We heard the country part, the patriotic part of our mission here tonight. And Restore Minnesota, who is proud to partner with Mary and the Tea Party Patriots. We need to thank you for hosting this, for allowing Rebecca to come on in. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Some of you know that Restore Minnesota exists to promote and restore righteousness in the state of Minnesota by promoting biblical citizenship. And that biblical citizenship that equips, empowers, educates, and leads to a Holy Spirit-led engagement, county by county, community by community, family by family, and that results in both a civic and a spiritual transformation in the state of Minnesota based on the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we combined that with this little document, and thanks to Kim Crockett tonight, there's going to be several of these floating around if you want one. They're called the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. So there's phrases like, when in the course of human events, and we find these truths to be self-evident. And with a firm reliance on divine providence, we pledge to ourselves our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. So with that firm reliance, let's pray, and then we'll stand and we will say the pledge with each other. Father, we come to you in Jesus' name. We thank you for William McCoy's, for this venue again that allows us to meet and express our freedom, to support one another, to encourage one another, to exhort one another, to give each other the pat on the back or the kick on the butt that we need whenever it's necessary to go out into our communities and make righteous change. Lord, we pray that this meeting is not just a meeting to gather more information so the sake that we can say we got some more information. Lord, we pray that this is not a meeting where we sell books just so we can say we buy books. And Lord, I pray that all the books will sell, because we need the information so that we can go into our communities. We can campaign with those who represent our values. We can run for offices. We can support those who are in office. We can support the ministries and the charities and the other public social service organizations that stand for liberty and freedom and righteousness. So Lord, we take all that, we come together under your name, and we're here to honor you tonight. Would you speak boldly through Rebecca and through the others that Mary will be bringing up here on the stage and presenting to us, so we can be better equipped to go and engage our lost culture. And I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. How about we stand, and well, if you can't see a flag, there's like 13 of them behind me. There's a big one on the wall. You can pledge to Mary's dress. I mean, it is, right? Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a few announcements, and I'm also going to do a call out to a number of people that are in the room. And when I call your name, just please stand and wave to all the fine folks. I know there's a lot more of you out there. I've been trying to keep track, but I want to just say that, you know, we would not be able to operate every month unless people showed up. So you are the ones that make this Tea Party work. You are the Tea Party. And someone who has been coming to these Tea Party meetings for over 10 years is David Flink, right there in his scooter. And even that, there's been some challenges, but he still comes every month. Thank you, David, for the commitment. That's wonderful. Representative Emmer does have a booth this year, a game fair. How many of you are familiar with the game fair that goes on in Andover at the Armstrong Ranch Kennels? That's on the 11th, 12th, and 13th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. If you would like to donate some of your time and be at the booth, just let me know and I can get you in touch with that. There's a Chicago County picnic. I want to introduce Lauren Kennedy. Please stand. You're the Chicago County Chair. You've got an event coming up, do you not, on August 26th, noon to 3:30. It's at the Chisago Lake Town Hall. It's a dessert silent auction, and an RSVP is appreciated, but they will be showing the movie Monumental by Kirk Cameron. So if you have any more, want more information, just let Lauren know. Few other Senate District chairs here. We've got Glide with Senate District 46. Glide, stand up. Good for you. And we've got Adam. Adam Davis with Senate District 39. And I'm Senate District Chair for 32. Is there anyone else that's a Senate District Chair here? BP, are you Chair? Okay, great. We have State Senator Mark Horan. There's Mark. He comes every month. Thank you for your support. And our Secretary of State candidate, Kim Crockett, is here.
Now with Hillsdale College.
That's great.
I'm not giving you the mic.
Yeah. I asked her if she wanted the mic. She said, no, I don't need one. We've got some literature over here from the American Experiment. Their monthly magazine, which is just superb, is over there. They're free copies, so please take that. They're also on that legislative update tour. Have you gone to some of those that the American Experiment has put on? And they're going to be in Edina now on August 8th, so there's some flyers over there on that. I want to introduce some of the school board candidates and elected board members that are in the room right now. We have Matt Audette and Anoka Hennepin School Board. Take a bow, Matt. We have Linda Holtman, who is a candidate for Anoka Hennepin School Board. And we have former state representative and school board mentor Kathy Tinglestead. And the Anoka Hennepin Parents Alliance has a table around that corner on August 23rd. Please pick up the flyer for their event called Trapped with Sheila Qualls. It's a debate watch party, you know. It's the first debate with the presidential candidates that we have so far on our side. And it is August 23rd, 7 p.m. at the Coon Rapids Civic Center. So stop on by and pick up a flyer on that.
Hey, Mary. We have Bruce Anderson, Senator Bruce Anderson over here.
Oh yeah, there he is.
Oh, well, sometimes he wants to go incognito. First, I didn't see you, and I apologize, but sometimes you go incognito, don't you, here? All right. Thank you for being here. Yes?
We have John Anderson from the
Yes.
Elk River School.
Yes, we do. We have John Anderson on the Elk River School Board. There he is, right over there. Thank you, because I sometimes can't read my own notes. And then, Deanna Moos, I know from Faith and Freedom. Are you from which school district? You are? Cambridge Isani School Board. Deanna, I did not know you were that too. All right, let's see. And we do have the Northwest Metro Republican Women Club President, Carol Wagner. Stand up, Carol. Here tonight. A little special treat. We have Donna Thibodeau, you know. Donna Unhinged has a few things that she wants to say tonight. She usually updates us on what's going on with the Tea Party Patriots National. She has a couple other things she wants to share. So say hello to Donna.
Hi, Donna.
That's supposed to be unfiltered. But unhinged is okay. Okay, I gotta talk fast because otherwise Mary will give a great big hook. Okay, as you know, my name is Donna Thibodeau, and this is the Tea Party update, and it's called Donna Unfiltered, and this episode is called Hot Topics, 4 hot topics. The first one is on UFOs, and I want to tell you that if you closely look at one of those crashed vehicles, you're going to see on the bottom of it, made in China. Okay, second hot topic, impeach Biden. I don't know what the holdup is, but I'm glad McCarthy is finally looking into impeaching. I wish he'd get off his duff and do it. Hot topic number 3, defend U.S. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. He's really being harassed, and that just isn't right. Now, I don't know why the police or somebody doesn't do something. But anyway, hot topic number 4 is President Donald Trump. And this persecution is ongoing by Jack Smith on getting Trump. There is a provision in the latest indictment that could call for the death penalty. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. Okay. And Trump is standing in the gap for us. He said for a long time that if it weren't for him, they would be going after us. And I would like you to pray for his safety, pray for his strength to stay the course, pray for his lawyers, pray for the judge who hears the case. Donate to him and stick with him. Speak up and let your U.S. representative and U.S. senator know where you stand. Okay? And I'm not a Pollyanna, but I am encouraged because things are happening. Things are going on that weren't going on in 2020. And I am encouraged that that Jenny Beth Martin went around the country and taught all of us what to look for cheaters and what to look for irregularities. I'm encouraged that the crooked Biden family is coming to light. I'm encouraged but upset about our federal agencies, DOJ, FBI, and ABC, that they're not neutral, that they are conspiring to put conservatives down. And by the way, these things are national security issues. The UFO thing is, the crooked Biden family, and so on. I'm encouraged that Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and the other techie billionaires are getting caught for suppressing free speech. I'm encouraged that the deep state career employees are being exposed for their being political. They're not supposed to be. And they're ganging up in the background against Trump and any other conservative that comes along. I'm encouraged by Congress who passed a law stopping the Chinese from buying our farmland, especially that near the military bases. The next thing they need to do is take the land away from them and kick them out of our country.
Yep.
And I'm encouraged by the blowback the fossil fuel industry is now advertising. And they're fighting against not only cars being electric, but they want to get rid of electric stoves, and they want to get rid of gas water heaters and gas furnaces. And, you know, maybe in 100 years we could do it, but right now we need that stuff. Okay? And by the way, that's a life or death issue because our farm tractors work on diesel. Without that, we don't have any food and we don't have any heat, you know? And I'm encouraged that the super wealthy like George Soros and the Hollywood elites are being exposed for cheating and donating millions of dollars to front organizations and giving to the radical left. On a smaller scale, I'm encouraged by the action of individuals. I'm encouraged that more regular Americans like you and me are seeing the fallacies in what the radical left is trying to teach us, okay? And I'm encouraged by PragerU's 5-minute lessons on freedom and our way of life. And by the way, they're getting to millions of people, and according to their statistics, 70% of young people are getting more conservative and questioning what they're saying. I'm encouraged by Carrie Lake continuing her fight to become Arizona governor. It's now in the appeal stage, and it will go all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, I think. And I'm very sorry for Tucker Carlson for paying the price for saying what he wanted to say. I miss him, I really do. And I can't get to the TV by 6 o'clock to watch, what's your face? I can't get there. So anyway, but you know, Fox News is paying the price too because they've lost millions of viewers. And I will close with our next speaker. Will be talking about the fight with the California Teachers Union and how it laid the foundation for the case that was won in 2018. Thank you.
Thanks, Donna. and Chuck Thibodeau were one of the first of the Tea Party Patriot people in Minnesota way back in '09, and you helped create and grow the Coon Rapids Tea Party Patriot Club. So give them a round of applause. Actually, our next speaker is the president of the Child Protection League Action. We have Michelle Lenz here. She is a delight. She's going to be speaking on a number of topics, including an event with Dr. James Lindsay on October 11th. But she's got some new updates for us. She also is going to be our speaker here on November 2nd. November 2nd. And you're going to enjoy hearing her. Here you go, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Well, hello, everyone. I am here to tell you about a new project that the Child Protection League is launching called Patriots Story Hour. Patriots Story Hour, what is that? It's the antidote to woke. It's the terror of libraries across the country. Right? Patriots Story Hour kits are a tool for you to take back your country, starting at your community level. So I want to ask you a question. How many of you think we are in the middle of a culture war? Thought I might get a show of hands on that. And if we're in the middle of a culture war, then all of us is called as patriotic Americans to fight that culture war in the way that we are called. And some are called to run for school boards. Some are called to affect public policy. Some are called to fight on campaigns, work on campaigns. And what the Child Protection League has discovered is that there are people out there who would love to touch the children and cultivate in them a love for the great American heritage we have. They just don't know how to start. The Patriot Story Hour kit is your tool to start. And so what we did was we put it together for you. We got 4 patriotic books, flyers, promo flyers, social media graphics, invitations, stickers, instructions, that's a big part of it. Anything you need, everything you need, and I'm going to pass it around so you have a chance to look at it, because I'm not going to go into it too much in depth. But would you agree with me, if we don't pass our cultural heritage on to the next generation, on the other side of this culture war, which I firmly believe we're going to win, we will lose. Because the next generation is the next generation of leaders. Would you agree? Okay. I'm firmly of the belief we're going to win the culture war. Right? Signs all over the place. You are the terror of woke libraries everywhere. You, because you are the people taking back our country, right? Okay. If we reach the next generation of children and cultivate in them a love for country and cultivate in them the civic skills to lead, then we will have created the next generation of leaders, right? Okay, if you believe we're going to win this culture war, then you have and I have to start governing and teaching today as if victory was here today. Right? And so we can't wait to see if we win the culture war. We act as if we are winning the culture war. Right? Okay. Everything on childprotectionleague.com/story hour. And if you just go to our website, you'll find it. But it's there for you to create your own kits. But what we are providing for anyone who wants the kit in their hands is everything you need to get started. What do you have to do? Because to win this war, it's not going to be easy. It wasn't easy to win our freedom the first time around, and it's not going to be easy to take it back. But if you pull together your own team, this is how you take it back. You take back your community. Right? Kirk Cameron went around the country doing an amazing thing, speaking at the libraries. But that doesn't have longevity if the community doesn't rise up and take back their community. So we have all kinds of activities in our test run on this launch. One of the most popular activities was, in addition to reading the books, the readers taught the children the proper way to fold the flag and why. Right? Is the schools doing it?
No.
Are the schools giving them any kind of history? So who's going to give them? We are. Okay. That's my pitch. If that touches your heart and resonates with you, come see me at the table. We've got some kits here. Like I said, everything's online, but we have a number of kits made up for people who want to take it on. The James Lindsay event. This is a premier event. I don't think he's been to Minnesota yet. This guy is hot across the country, and his communication style is amazing in his ability to take what he has studied in his deep dives and make it understandable for us. He wrote the book, The Marxification of Education. Does that just about sum it up? Yep. Who's the enemy, right? And so we're bringing him in. It's not a fundraiser. We actually don't care if we lose money at CPL. We put on events to provide things to you so that you have what you need. And so for me, success in this event is not that we make money, it's that I pack this room. So that we can show James Lindsay we're not all crazy here in Minnesota. Right? So I want you to know it's over half sold out. And it's still 2 months away. The card on your table has a QR code. So, of course, my background in sales tells me I got to offer you something. So if you register tonight, you get a free CPL pin. You can use your phone, right? Just register and just come to the table and tell me you registered, and the first 20 people will get an amazing CPL pen. They are quite nice. You will be glad that you did. But you know how we are in Minnesota, we wait till the last week or two before an event and then we decide to go. I really want to encourage you not to do that, because this one may sell out and then you wouldn't be able to get the tickets. So the Child Protection League thanks you. It's all your support. We're a bunch of moms who work for free because God provides, and has given us the ability to do that. Not everybody can, and I don't fault anyone for, doing it as a living. We just do it this way because we're not indebted to any donors. We don't have to get up every day and work just to pay the rent, right? All of our donations go to provide resources to parents and equip them to take back the culture for their kids. So we are here with resources for you. I always talk to the resources on my table, and I say resources at the end of the night. I don't want any of you here, right? They're there for you to take and for you to use to help educate yourself and others. Thanks so much.
So sorry, my phone decided to come alive. Okay. Yeah, this another way we can do this, of course, is to make sure that we vote early for these school board candidates. It starts September 22nd. Vote early. You can vote in person, you can do it through mail-in ballot, however you do it, but gather people up and go drive on down to either the Anoka County Government Center or any of your other centers where there's early voting. It's usually a very low voter turnout during these off-election years, but it's not an off-election year. We've got to get these school board candidates in. Otherwise, we're knocking our heads against the wall again. So please do that. And September 22nd, I'm going down on September 22nd myself, and I'm going to vote in person. I'm going to do a real quick update here. There's no meeting September 7th. For here. September 7th, Twilight Braves with the Citizens Council for Health Freedom has Pete Hegseth as the main speaker. So you can go to cchf.org, take a look. I think their tickets are almost sold out, but that's a pretty big event. Pete Hegseth, grew up in Forest Lake. He used to come back into the state quite often, but since he's advanced at Fox News, he's under contract, and so it's difficult for him to come back to the state from time to time. So that's what we're going to do in September. We're going to support the Citizens Council for Health Freedom. In October 5th, however, guess who we have? You saw his photo when you came in. We have from Arizona, Sheriff Richard Mack. Yeah, now he's a big deal. How many of you know about him? Well, he started the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. It was founded in 2011 by him. He was a sheriff in southeast Arizona, and he, along with every sheriff in America, were ordered by the Clinton administration to enforce the Brady Bill, which was that Federal Gun Control Act. Mack believed this to be unconstitutional. The federal government threatened to arrest all sheriffs who failed to obey the federal government's orders. So Sheriff Mack and 6 other sheriffs refused to enforce the federal law and instead sued the Clinton administration. The case eventually made it all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States, where SCOTUS ruled in favor of the sheriffs. So this case established that county sheriffs have the authority and duty to enforce the Constitution and to protect their citizens from the overreach of an out-of-control federal government. So, don't come here September, come here October 5th, and you'll see Sheriff Mack. He'll have his book and some other items as well, but he's well worth listening to. I'm going to ask Sue Erickson at this point to pass around our little donation bucket. Donations are the only means that keep us going, and we do have expenses here. Even to send out all those emails every month, that's a pretty expensive email service. So we do have other obligations, and we just appreciate your generosity. You've kept us alive for 14 years. Let's do it another 14, should we? And while Sue is doing that, I'm going to read a little poem that I found. And then Dale, where is he? Is Dale over there? Did he leave? Because Dale wanted to say something. I'll see if he comes back into the room. But this is, since we're talking tonight about schools and our children, someone found this updated poem of Mary Had a Little Lamb. Are any of you familiar with this? Donna, you know about this? Oh. Well, Mary had a little lamb. His fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. He followed her to school each day. 'Twasn't even in the rule. It made the children laugh and play to have a lamb at school. And then the rules all changed. One day, illegal it became to bring the Lamb of God to school or even speak his name. Every day got worse and worse, and days turned into years. Instead of hearing children laugh, we heard gunshots and tears. What must we do to stop the crime that's in our schools today? Let's let the Lamb come back to school and teach our kids to pray. All right, we're going to begin. And Dale Rivington is the person who asked me many, many months ago now that if Rebecca Friedrichs was to come to Minnesota, would there be a possibility she could speak at a Liberty Tea Party Patriot meeting? I didn't wait too long to answer, did I? No, I said yes, absolutely. We need to thank Dale for thinking of us, and I've asked that he introduce tonight's very special speaker.
Thank you, Mary. If you're familiar with the phrase, dynamite comes in small packages, that's what you're in for tonight. But before I introduce Rebecca, we get her up here. Donna, thank you. That long list that you shared. I'm a little concerned about the made in China UFO thing, because I'm thinking that most of those aliens are actually part of the National Education Association. and the head of that group, I'm not going to say her name, but but that's why we're here tonight. Not the alien piece. It's because we're here to protect our kids and our families and our education. It's here to make things right again. And what we've been talking about all night, and what we do at Restore Minnesota with our community action teams, is we teach communities how to take their community back, one community at a time. It was, I think, Rebecca, Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, summer of 2020, that the three of us, we met for the first time. It was up in the Northwoods Retreat Center. There were some teachers from around the country who were going through a 40-day retreat. And Kim had been invited to come up and speak. Rebecca, who'd been through it, she spoke. My wife and I were invited to speak, and that's where we first connected. And shortly after that, our governor had already said that you could only have like 8 people in your house. Remember that? As long as they were, as long as they were close, intimate relatives or something. I don't remember what the stipulations were, because when he said that, we just started having dinner parties in our home with 20 people we didn't know. And there was no way we were going to be shut down.
They were peaceful protests, Dale.
Yeah, they were great meals too. To the credit of my wife, who's back at the table selling Rebecca's books. By the way, please get a book. Mary Emma ordered 100 books. They're $20 a piece, that includes tax. And we don't want Rebecca to have to take any of them back. Actually, just buy the book. For yourself or for somebody else. Now, Rebecca is going to be, just for your knowledge, and in case you have the opportunity, tomorrow morning she'll be at Mercy Road Church in Burnsville at 10 a.m. to 11:30. Former Senator Dan Hall will be hosting his Christians Discussing Politics and Religion. Rebecca is his guest speaker tomorrow. Mercy Road, you can look that up. Tomorrow night, for those who've got friends down in Rochester, we'll have Rebecca down in Rochester at Harvest Church, and she'll be speaking down there with Julie Quist of CPL. So we're glad to have Michelle here tonight. We'll have Julie down there tomorrow night in Rochester. On Sunday, Rebecca will be at Land of Promise, which is kind of a Christian campground on Lake Beebe in the St. Michael Buffalo area. She will have the Sunday service at 10:30, and then there's a big celebration all day long. And during the course of the day, we'll have Rebecca up speaking, and we'll be doing some tag teaming. So you can come out to Beebe Lake and enjoy that at Land of Promise. And then if you've got contacts in Little Falls, Rebecca will be at the Little Falls VFW Monday night at 6 p.m. And so we've got her heavily scheduled. And then Tuesday is her last go-round. She'll be at Mary Emma's BPOU, which is, Mary, is that SD32? Yeah. Okay, SD32 at the Thai Twist restaurant Tuesday night. Rebecca, so those of you who are here tonight, you can bring other people. You have opportunity to do that. One of the members of our team, Drew Clapp, is walking around someplace, okay? The box is way back there by my wife. Okay? You've taken your regular monthly donation for your tea party. We're asking for you to be generous and dig deep to support Rebecca and 4 Kids in Country. She came out here with no, well, we've got an arrangement, let me put it that way. I mean, it's not free to come out here from California. It's not free to do what she's doing. And we need to support the work that Rebecca does, because this is a lady who had the courage to take on the California Teachers Union. She had the courage to stand up and go all the way to the Supreme Court. And I'm not going to steal her thunder, but this is a lady who won't back down, because she believes in her Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. She believes in family. She believes in protecting our children. And she is one of the key proclaimers of truth on this topic in the United States. And we are really privileged to have her here tonight. So please give a very warm Minnesota welcome to Rebecca Friedrichs.
Well, the first thing I want to say is I'm from California, your twin state,
And because I'm from California, if I was a Democrat, which I'm not, but if I was a Democrat, I'd be able to vote for Linda Hartman on the school board here in Minnesota. Right? Yeah, well, sorry I can't vote for you, Linda, but I'll be cheering for you. She's a great lady, super wonderful teacher, brave. I love Linda. And Dale, I think we met more like in 2018. Don't you think, Kim? Yeah, I think it's been longer than 2020. Anyway, I'm really glad to be here all y'all tonight. I'm going to be talking to you first. The first half of my talk, I'll just talk, so you can ignore the sides, and I'll go over that at the end. That's basically my evidence, because I'm going to make a lot of accusations tonight. So I'm going to give you some evidence. So I'm going to start with a story. I was a student teacher. I was 22 years old. It was 1987, and I was teaching my very first class. I wasn't the main teacher. I had a master teacher, and I was learning from her. And I learned a lot from her. She taught me that phonics is the way to teach reading. Thank God she taught me that, because our schools don't teach phonics, at least not properly. Anyway, I'm teaching with her and learning everything I ever learned that was great as a teacher. But next door, every day I see this woman, this teacher, abusing the students. Every day. There was, just so you can get a picture, they were first graders. They came about up to her waist. And every day she'd grab them, yank them, get them right into her face and scream at them, and just, manhandling them. She mostly picked on the wiggly little boys. I know the men in this room can understand that. They couldn't stand still to save their souls, and this lady's manhandling them. So I went to my master teacher and I said, hey, I'm learning about mandated reporting of child abuse, and I see some child abuse. It's the teacher next door. What do I do? Because they never taught us how to report teachers, they only taught us how to report parents. Okay? My master teacher sat me down and she said, Rebecca, today's the day you learn about teachers' unions. And she said the district knows she's an abuser, they know she's not a great teacher, but they can't get rid of her. And a lot of people think that's because of tenure. I'm here to tell you, it really isn't. It's really because of collectively bargained grievance procedures by the teacher unions. So when the unions were able to get collective bargaining, which in case you don't know is not good for America or her children, collective bargaining is what removed parents from the process. It also removed really great teachers from the process. It put the union in charge, they put their favorite people on the board, and then they bargain across the table. Totally corrupt. The whole system's corrupt. So we're unable to get rid of bad teachers now. And now you're seeing that we also punish great teachers, right? It's happening all over the place. So this master teacher also told me that the unions were using teacher dues money to fund radical politics. This was 1987. So I thought, wow, I don't want to be a part of this union. Oh yeah, I never was able to prove this because I don't read Playboy magazine, but she told me that they were advertising in Playboy magazine to find teachers. Oh, you want yourself some groomers? Advertise in Playboy. It's just insane, right? Why would they use teacher money that way? So about 6 months later, I got my first teaching job. I signed my contract. The minute you sign, the union runs right in. They're all over you. You gotta sign this, you gotta sign union paper. And I said, no thanks. Well, they don't hear that very often. What do you mean, no thanks? I said, well, the union's allowing teachers to abuse children. I don't want to fund that. The union's funding politics that are against my beliefs. I don't want, and you know what they said to me? You want to teach? You'll pay us. So what I found out was that I had to fund unions as a condition of employment. Every government employee in the United States of America that's in a unionized union shop, at that time, pre our lawsuit, at that time, was forced to fund a union as a condition of employment. Just to give you an idea of the kind of money we had to pay, my husband was, well, I guess you should back up. You could be a non-member. And here's how the unions lied to people. They told America, nobody has to be a member, and nobody has to pay dues. Okay, in Orwellian language, that's true. But here's what it really means. You didn't have to be a member, but you had to accept their forced representation. You didn't have to pay dues, but you had to pay fees. Yeah, you got it. This is how communists work, right? They just twist the language. So the dues that my teacher friends were paying were about $30 more a year than the fees I was paying as a non-member. I didn't get to vote, didn't get a voice, nothing. So you're paying all of it, and you're forced on their representation. So just for a good, just so you get a good idea of how this works, my husband, who was also an educator, he's a professor, he was a non-member fee payer. He paid $1,200 a year in fees. And as the department chair, when he wanted to get rid of a bad teacher, the union would file a grievance against him and make it impossible for him to get rid of a bad teacher. And he had to pay for that. Can you think of anything more corrupt? So this is what teachers have been forced into for decades. And so that's why we brought a lawsuit. And my journey basically was, my journey started in my Bible study. I was just doing my Bible study at home, and there was this question, the fateful question that changed my life. Don't take your Bible study lightly. There might be a little question in there that changes your life. That's what happened to me. I was a kindergarten teacher. I loved it. I'd still love to be teaching kindergarten. By the way, the minute we filed the lawsuit, my principal punished me by taking me out of kindergarten, putting me back in 4th grade, which I also loved. But I worked really hard in a great kindergarten program. She punished the kids, is what she did. Right? That's evil. Anyway, where was I? I lost my train of thought.
Your question.
Oh yeah, my question in the Bible study. Thank you. Great Dia. She was listening. So I'm doing this Bible study, and the question was, is there something God has been telling you to do, but you haven't done it? You're scared, whatever. Yes. What is it? I'm supposed to be writing for His glory. I didn't know what I was supposed to be writing. I knew it. I knew I was supposed to be writing. And the next question was, will you give it to Him? Will you say yes? I might not have answered the first question if I knew that that was the next question. I literally prayed on that question for 3 solid days. Because I'm not kidding you. I told the Lord, I don't want to be Jonah in the belly of a fish. I don't want to say I'm going to do it, and then I chicken out, or whatever, and then I get punished for it. So I prayed on it. And you know what God said to me? Well, I don't hear voices, just so you know. It's just, in my heart. I told Him, look, I can write, but I don't know how to publish anything. I don't know how to submit an editorial. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. You know what He said to my heart? That's not your problem, that's my problem. Oh, right? That changed it all. All I had to do was write. All I had to do was obey. Like John Quincy Adams said, duty is ours. Results are God's. So I learned that lesson that day, and I wrote my first editorial, which shocked my husband because he'd been telling me to write editorials for years, and I kept saying no. And so I wrote it, not knowing how to submit it, sent it to letters to the editor with this lame note, I don't know how to submit this. Anyway, it gets printed. And then it gets picked up around the nation because apparently no teacher had ever dared to speak against the teachers' unions. Right? So what happened? God blessed it. He took my lame little effort and He blessed it. 6 months after that, I was lead plaintiff in a federal lawsuit headed to the United States Supreme Court, suing the National Education Association and the California Teachers Association. I never had that in my mind. I just wanted one editorial in the Orange County Register. That was my dream. And God knew it, right? That's what He does. He does exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask or even imagine. And I'll tell you what else, too. If you're thinking, yeah, He did all that, and look at her, she's stuck fighting the unions. I like it. I actually like it. And it seems scary at first, but it's not. When you're speaking the truth, God comes behind you and before you and beside you, and He opens the door. People like you, I never would have met you if I just stayed in my classroom, right? So I have one more little story to tell you before I move on with some accusations against the teachers union, hoping to help you connect some dots. I have a lot of teacher friends that I've met since we brought the lawsuit, because I was the named plaintiff, I was the lead plaintiff, so the case was Friedrich's. And so I would get these secretive emails from teachers, and they always started the same way. Don't tell anybody that I'm talking to you, because they're all terrified. But then they start telling me their story. So eventually I meet these amazing teachers like Linda Hochman who are fighting in their states. And I met these teachers who go to the National Education Association annual meeting every year. One of them's from Minnesota, Sue Halverson. Anybody know Sue? If you don't, you should know her. Amazing little lady who just fights and fights and fights. So she goes to NEA convention every year on her own dime, flight, hotel, whatever it takes, on her own dime, and she fights these brutal people. And all they do is bully her the whole time. So here's what she and her friends told me. They've been trying to fight against the sex ed for decades now at the NEA level. These good, godly teachers, Sue Halverson, Jerry Lee, and friends, they go and they fight against it. They go up on the platform and speak to 10,000 people, you know, their faces on big monitors all over the room. They're terrified, their knees are knocking, but they state truth. They have been, by union leaders, they have been spit upon. They have been barred from serving on health committees so that they can't impact the sex ed and stop it. They have been booed off the platform. You name it, it's happened to these ladies. But they keep showing up, and they keep doing it. So I think that's the bigger blessing of being in the fight, is you meet people like that. But the reason I wanted to tell their story is here they are going to the NEA meeting, supposedly as representatives of the teachers, and when they say what real teachers believe, we don't sexualize children, we don't lie to parents, we don't push communism like critical race theory, we don't do that. When they go push back, they get spit upon, put off the platform, barred from committees. So the reason I'm telling you these stories is, I want you to help me with something. I have this big goal to rebrand the so-called teachers' unions. They aren't really teachers, and they aren't really a union in the traditional sense. They are actually, and I will prove it to you through my presentation, they're communists, pushing a very heavy communist agenda. That's why they want to sexualize our kids. It's part of that agenda. So I have rebranded them. Actually, I didn't make this up. A man named Samuel Blumenfeld made this up. He's now deceased. It's my job to carry on. The education mafia. They're no longer the teachers union. When you refer to them, if you say the teachers union's this, the teachers union that, good teachers are getting thrown under the bus every time. That's why they call themselves teachers. If you were the devil, you get by a trusted face, behind a trusted face. And especially a face that can give you access to vulnerable kids, right? Okay, so they're the education mafia. So every time I say education mafia tonight, I'm talking about so-called teacher unions. Everybody got that straight? Education mafia. They're masquerading. They're hypocrites. They have a mask. All right, so I'm going to go over some things that this education mafia is literally doing to the children in our schools, to all of us through the schools. And then I'm going to talk about some things that you wouldn't even think they'd be involved in, like things that they're doing just generally in our country that have nothing to do with education. And you might hear, well, this group, you'll probably believe me, but there might be somebody in the room who's thinking, that lady's making this up. This isn't true. I'll give you some evidence at the end, and if you're way in the back and you don't believe me, come closer so you can see the slideshow better, because I'll show you the evidence on the slides. Okay? And I have a lot more evidence, but I only get 45 minutes to an hour, so I can only share a little bit with you, all right? You can always come to our website. I'll tell you about that later if you want. All right. So the first thing you need to know is teachers are exploited by the education mafia. Teachers are used as pawns to fund their radical agenda. The majority of teachers do not agree with the agenda. And a lot of teachers don't even know that the union has that agenda. There's a lot of teachers who are still confused, and they still think, oh, the union's my savior. They get me a raise, they get me a pension, they get, they don't understand. So we need your help reaching them. There's all kinds of teachers. There's confused teachers who still think the union's good. There's teachers who know the unions are bad, but they're too terrified to leave them. There's teachers who still think they're forced to pay them because they don't know about the win in the lawsuit, because, of course, the unions did all kinds of manipulating, especially in states like yours that are supposedly blue. I don't believe it's blue. You're like my state, you're stolen. But anyway, the union controls your state. The union controls my state. They passed all kinds of laws while our case was going through called the Friedrich's Fix. That's what they did. They went to legislatures with the Friedrich's Fix to fix what we were going to do when we won our case, which was end forced unionism, so no one would have to pay. No one has to pay. There was an eventual win in 2018. No one has to pay government unions anymore as a condition of employment. Stop paying them today. And they still have to represent you because they asked for that right to represent you. But you don't have to pay them. A lot of teachers don't know that. If they do know it, like I said, some are too afraid. If they do know it, some still think the union is their friend. They do not know that the union's behind all of the problems they're facing. So I'm just going to go over some of those problems. The radical sex ed. Gentlemen, I apologize. Never in my whole life did I think I would ever talk about any of these things by myself, or even to, I don't know, my mom or my husband. Never. So I'm going to say some things that I wouldn't normally say. I have a glass of water up here because my mouth will definitely get dry. But you need to hear it. I'm embarrassed. You might be embarrassed. They're doing it to our kids. They're doing it to our kids, so we have to hear it. So, one of the things that, and by the way, the education mafia is behind all of this. So if I forget to say the education mafia did it, they did all of this. Everything I'm going to show, they're behind it. The radical sex ed. I call it SEXXX, because it is XXX. So I first found out about it in 2013 when a mom reached out to me. She reached out to me because I was writing those editorials. And she goes, hey, can you help me? My daughter's 5th grade class is using a curricula written by Planned Parenthood called Making Proud Choices. She sent me the whole curricula. I read it for myself. Okay? This is all over the country. One of the lessons in this curricula was called the condom relay races. And in the condom relay, I hope there's no little kids in the room. If they're little kids, plug their ears. In the condom relay races, teachers told, put out a table, and on the table place 2 anatomically correct, fully erect, adult male penis models. Line the kids up into 2 teams. By the way, boys and girls together, because we no longer can assume a gender. So it's not like the old days where the girls went in this room to learn about their menstrual cycle, and the boys went in this room to learn about anatomy or whatever. Which, by the way, I don't think our schools should be teaching at all. Because the reason they brought that in was so they could eventually bring in what I'm talking about today. That's how they work. So, anyway, line them up. Mixed company. Teachers told, make it a fun game. Says that in the teacher manual. Make it a fun game. Line them up in 2 lines. Give each child a condom. The child, you know how relay race works, right? The first 2 run. So the first 2 run up. They have to put the condom on the model. Tell every proper step of how to use a condom. It literally says if they miss a step, make them go back and start over. That's a fun game. And the teachers' unions claim, and the Planned Parenthood claim that that's age appropriate. No, that's evil. That's evil. If I was made to do that activity in 5th grade, I do not think I would be married today. Which means I wouldn't have 2 beautiful sons. And I wouldn't have, there's so much that we wouldn't have. We didn't have families. This is grooming. It's to break down the natural boundaries that God gave us to protect us from groomers and sexually transmitted diseases and all that. And it's our so-called public schools run by the education mafia that's pushing this evil against the will of teachers and parents. Did you know that, oh, by the way, I mentioned the majority of teachers would never do this. But hey, it's happening all over the place. Why? Because the unions for decades have been hand-selecting people. Oh, you're LGBTQ? You'd be a good teacher. Oh, you like the communist agenda? You'd be a good teacher. They hand-select people and have been plopping them in our schools for decades. This is an infiltration. This is a takeover. It's exactly what it is. And you can see the results of it now. I've been screaming about this for 35 years, and people didn't believe me. They thought I had a, tinfoil hat on my head. Now they're starting to believe it, because we're seeing the results. All right, so here's the difference. Real teachers, activists, union activists. Those are 2 different things. Union activists have loud voices, billions of dollars behind them, media. Teachers like Linda Hochman and me, we have nobody speaking out for us, right? So how do we get our message out? We don't believe us, we're not doing it. Okay, so we need your help to help us to not only defend teachers, but at the end of it, Dale forgot to tell you, well, I didn't tell him to tell you, but I'm a teacher, I give homework. It's just how it is. You came to hear a teacher, you got homework. But it's easy homework. It's easy homework. But I'm just warning you, the homework's coming. So if you have an union activist, teaching your child or grandchild, that activist will at some point say to your child, when you were born, your parents didn't know your gender. By the way, we don't say your mommy and daddy, they say your parents. We don't assume genders anymore. No such thing as mommy and daddy anymore. It's evil. I don't know if y'all believe in God. This is demonic. What do they tell a child? Your parents don't know your gender. And they're literally doing this. I'm not making this up. It's happening. Your parents didn't know your gender when you were born, so they assigned you one. You'll figure out your gender from an unlimited spectrum of genders. You can change your gender every day. I'll tell you what this is. Number one, it's an attack on God, because he said, I made them male and female. Number two, it's an attack on identity. If you don't know your identity, I don't know if you know anybody that doesn't have an identity. I do. These are lost people. They float through life. They don't know what to do. You have to have strong identity. So these children, they should be like me. I know my identity. I'm a daughter of the King of Kings. I'm also a daughter of my father, Chuck Brummett, who was my softball coach and did everything with me. Great dad. Never once told me he didn't know my gender. Told me I was a girl. He also told me girls could fight. And he told me girls should stand up. He's a great guy, isn't he? I wish he was here. He's 85. He's handsome. He's funny. You guys would love him. He's from Arkansas. But he lives in California. He wanted to escape the humidity. All right. Drag queen event. You know about drag queen story hour and all that. Crazy stuff. We never even heard of it before a couple years ago. The education mafia is behind that. Why are they doing it in libraries? Because librarians are unionized. Think about this. Real librarians, right? Hello, can I get a book for you? Right? Every librarian I know is the sweetest, most precious. Some are even mousy, right? They would never, ever bring in a drag queen. They never even heard of a drag queen, right? It's an infiltration. It's not the librarians. It's not the teachers. Okay, what do communists do? They're experts at something called divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. They want you to hate teachers. They want you to hate librarians. They want you to hate police officers. They want all of it, right? Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't hate teachers. Be angry with the activists, the education mafia activists. Okay, gender spectrum. Our whole gender spectrum. That's the so-called unions. Push that. Guess who they pushed it with? The PTA. The PTA, people. In case you don't know, the PTA has been corrupted. It happened in the 1960s and 70s. Probably all of us in this room have paid dues to the PTA. We were funding evil, and we didn't know it. I have a whole chapter in my book on how the PTA was undermined by the unions, so-called unions. Made them take a stance of neutrality, so now the unions will not, the PTA will not take any stance opposite that of the unions. That's why you have parents and kids out picketing at teacher strikes. By the way, most teachers don't want to be on a teacher strike. Who do the unions put on the front line? You're not going to believe it. Maybe you will. This group will. It's the nasty activists, right? Antifa and Black Lives Matter. And the unions bragged that they started Black Lives Matter. They bragged it on the cover of a magazine that they forced on my husband. And I wish I'd have saved it so I could show it to you. Because, of course, it's not in their archives like the other magazines. Yeah, because they're deceptive. But I have had teachers from around the country, even in states like Arizona, where you wouldn't think there'd be a big problem, call me and say, Antifa was in our teacher strike. Bullying these teachers, terrorizing them. Teachers were terrorized. And it's all because of their so-called union. Boys dominating girls' sports, invading girls' locker rooms and bathrooms, education mafia. Guess who they passed it with? The PTA. And I'll show you evidence on that one. Although it's little, so you have to come close and be front row students if you want to really read it. I'll tell you where to find it on your own, though. Have you heard about Gay Straight Alliance Clubs, GSAs? You heard about those? Yeah, you guys are in the battle. I love this crowd. Okay, we all know how student clubs work. A student says, I want to start a club. Students told you need to get a few more friends, have, 4 or 5 of you or whatever, get a faculty advisor, and you can start your club. That's not how Gay Straight Alliance Clubs work. Gay Straight Alliance Clubs are started by the activists. When you go to a California Teacher Association or NEA, National Education Association, any of the union annual meetings, they wine and dine teachers and give them thousands of dollars to start GSA clubs. Those clubs are being used to groom children, to tell them that they're transgender, and to totally confuse them. I taught 28 years, my husband taught 42. My husband was in the School of Music and Dance, so if you're going to have a transgender, that person's going to show up there, right? Music and dance. His whole career, he never once had a transgender. Neither did I. I have a teacher who teaches near me. She's taught 20-some years. Never had a transgender until 2 years ago. 9 in one class. Okay? That's an attack. That's an infiltration. That they use the GSA clubs and other ways to literally propagandize and indoctrinate these kids. Their goal is to take them away from their families. You might want to be aware that social services is unionized. Social services is highly corrupt. Highly corrupt. That's a different topic for a different day, but I just wanted you to know it. Minor attracted persons, you heard that weird phrase? It means pedophilia. Okay? The unions are pushing that too. They work together with the CDC. Oh yeah, the CDC's unionized. That's why they're liars and thieves. That's why they're killing people. They have a whole long page on their website. I don't have it in my slides, but you can look it up. It's called Young Men Having Sex with Men. And it's telling teachers that we need to put the thumbs up to this and provide a safe place for young men having sex with men. So we're supposed to allow our students to be abused by pedophiles. And that's being pushed by the CDC and the education mafia. It's evil, isn't it? Have you guys heard about those new 988 suicide hotlines? Oh, okay, good. I'm going to give you some new information. It's bad information, but I'm glad you'll be aware. So President Trump actually signed the suicide hotlines into law, and we know that he did that for good reasons, but it's been corrupted, like everything else of the deep state, which is the unions, in my opinion, and the education mafia get a hold of. 988 hotlines are supposed to be, kids see, if they feel suicidal, they call this hotline, they're supposed to get help. What happens is they call the hotline or text it. We know this because we have had adults pose as kids and go on and say, I need help. 100% of the time, they're sent to 2 different organizations, Trevor Project and Trevor Space. In case you don't know, the poster child for Trevor Space is Sam Brinton. That dude that wears makeup and steals women's clothing at the airport. Okay? That's all you need to know. The kids shouldn't be sent to that organization. I could go more deeply into it. It's basically sending kids to groomers. That's evil. That 988 hotline is on, it's in the bathrooms in middle schools and high schools all over the country. Yeah.
Minnesota just passed a law. We have to have a suicide hotline on everyone's school ID.
She just said Minnesota just passed a law. You have to have a suicide hotline on everyone's student ID. So right on their ID, they're going to be able to reach out to this hotline and be sent to groomers. Okay? You know what? I was a single mom for 7 years, and I don't know how I did it. By the grace of God, I had my son in private school. I don't know. If you don't have the money to get your kids out of public school, ask God to help you. Because truly we're playing Russian roulette if we keep our kids in the public schools now. It's that bad. It's scary. All right. I have more to tell you, but I'm going to keep moving forward because I'm going to run out of time. The education mafia is behind lying to parents. They're behind critical race theory, which is more divide and conquer. They're behind social emotional learning. Please don't fall for that. What they do is they sexualize your kids. They make them, depressed by locking down the schools and all that, and telling them that there's no gender and all that stuff. And then they say, oh, we'll save your kids with social emotional learning. No, it's more communism. Okay? Sex ed, CRT, social emotional learning, they're a trifecta that are all used together to make your children not trust you, not trust God, and to be immoral and to be a mess. Racial equity discipline policies, this is a big deal in Minnesota. It hit you guys first. So, the unions, the education mafia, put Obama in office. His second term, they gave him over $1 billion. It's a lot of money they collect. They put Obama in office. Then this so-called teacher union that says it's protecting teachers and kids writes policy to make it so that you can't suspend children of color anymore. So who passes that? Obama, for the unions. It gets to the schools. I have to say, shame on the school districts, because the school boards go, yeah, we want all that federal funding that's attached to this nightmare bill. They take all the federal funding, and now our classrooms are war zones. Now we have school shootings. Now we have what's her teacher here in this state? She's going to be with us on Friday. Oh, nuts. Her name has just escaped me. Anyway, she was attacked by a child. She hasn't taught ever since. Nothing happened to the kid. She got punished. She lost her career. Debbie York, thank you. You have another teacher in this state who has a brain injury from a child who attacked him. Hasn't taught since. It's because of these policies written by the so-called teacher unions or promoted by Obama. Yet teachers go running to the union. Help me, my classroom's a war zone. And the union pretends to protect them. They're evil. They're liars. They're liars. They're manipulating these teachers. So we need your help to help these teachers to understand that they are funding their own demise when they pay unions, and that they don't have to pay them anymore. Really quick, since I think there's a lot of people of faith in this room, America's schools used to have 10 commandments on the wall of every classroom. America's schools opened with prayer. America's schools used the Bible as our first textbook. And it was a textbook forever until the unions showed up. And they used our legislative process, and especially our judicial process. They flipped the Supreme Court, and then they got the Supreme Court to get rid of the 10 Commandments of the Bible and the prayers. Okay. That was the disaster. That's what's throwing America, making America a big mess. And I'll talk about that a little more on the slides. Okay, that's inside our classrooms. I could go on for like 10 days about the nasty things they're doing inside our classrooms. That's just highlights. Here's just a few highlights of what they're doing outside of the classroom that you might not be aware of. Education mafia is behind. Open borders. Abolishing ICE. Defunding police. Pushing for mail-in ballots only and no voter ID, which always leads to voter fraud. You guys know that here. So do we in California. Putting all these radicals into office. You don't like Nancy Pelosi? Thank the education mafia. You don't like any of those radicals up there? Thank the education mafia. They did it all. Who's that girl that is in this state? Ilhan Omar. The education mafia loves her. They love her and put her in office. I believe you guys figured this out. You should all be called a bigot or something. Okay. They're behind the attacks on the First and Second Amendment, higher taxes, fake science, fake history, and in my state, California, the so-called unions helped to pass AB 2223. They might, and I'll tell you what that is in a minute, they might deny this, but they're liars. They put into office every single legislator that passed it, and the one that carried it. So they put it into office. And the unions, if you don't do their bidding, you're out. Okay, AB 2223. In the state of California, my state, where we are not a bunch of communists, we're God-fearing people who want freedom and liberty. We want to be a free republic. We keep voting and they keep stealing our votes. That's what's going on in California. Nancy Pelosi supposedly got 82% of the vote. Give me a break. Even teenagers that don't know anything don't like Nancy Pelosi or Gavin Newsom. They hate him. We recalled that dude and he's still there. Okay? This is election fraud. All right. So, AB 2223 in California, my tax dollars now fund a baby can be murdered 30 days after the baby's born. So they've been murdering him inside the womb, now they're murdering him outside the womb. And people all around the world and the country think that I, California taxpayer, agree with that. I do not. I don't know one taxpayer that agrees with that. That's demonic. Why would we agree with that? All right, so you've heard the highlights. Now I'm going to give you some evidence, and my clicker's broken, so I'm going to have to go down here to advance my slides. So you might not be able to see me because I'm kind of short. But anyway, you'll hear me. All right, so this first slide is just, it's my favorite quote that our students used to learn in the old days when we, you know we used to have classics in our schools. We read the classics, and it's the unions that remove them, along with their friends. You know, they're in bed with ACLU and Southern Poverty Law Center. I'll show evidence of that too. Anyway, this is such a key quote, because what I'm watching happening in this country now that the communists have a stronghold, and every single day a new evil pops up, right? Every day it's like, oh my gosh, another one, and we're going back and forth, right? Well, this quote is so wise. Henry David Thoreau. There are 1,000 hacking at the branches of evil to one who is striking at the root. So tonight, I'm here to convince you, number one, that the root cause of our problems is the education mafia and their friends. President Trump would call it the deep state. Okay, these evil people who've infiltrated, who do not love America, they do not love God, they do not love our American values, and they don't want to be a republic. Okay, they want to destroy us. Those people, that's the root. If we keep fighting just up in the branches of the problems, we're never going to win. We're just going to spin our wheels and exhaust ourselves, and that's what our enemies are hoping we'll do. We have got to get down and dig out the root. Once we dig out that poisonous root, all those branches clear up, and the tree gets healthy again. So that's what I'm here to convince you. Help us to take, it's my goal before I die to make the unions illegal, government unions. Because they always were illegal, and then all of a sudden they were legal. So they need to go. All right, evidence. And I'm sorry about the flags covering some of it, but I talked about the sex ed. So in California, California Healthy Youth Act, the bill sponsors ACLU, some other groups you probably don't know about, Planned Parenthood, but most people are surprised to see, this group won't be, the coalition of supporters was the California School Board Association. That's the guys that called us all domestic terrorists. No surprise there. The California Teachers Association, here's the big surprise, the PTA. Why would the PTA be behind sexualizing children? Because they are not who they claim to be. Just like the teacher unions, they are not who they claim to be. People can say they're the PTA all day long. Let me see the evidence that you're the PTA. They're not. Okay, this is the evidence. You can't see because of the flags, but up here it says it's the California Teacher Association website, and in this box it tells you, they're bragging that in October 2013, they passed, the CTA and passed in California, the first ever law to allow boys to dominate girls' sports, locker rooms, and bathrooms. Teachers don't know their union did that. They don't know. And they brag down here that they did it with the PTA. Why would the PTA want boys dominating girls' sports? Because they are not who they say they are. Okay, this is, I told you that they're behind fake science. And again, I'm sorry you can't see the very tip top. But it basically says it's an adopted amendment in 2017 by the National Education Association. What did they do in this amendment? They obliterated the scientific method. Obliterated it. Okay, number one, science was designed by God. That's why it's perfection. And we all know the scientific method. You come up with a hypothesis, you test it using empirical evidence, you test it over and over and over again, and if it passes all the tests, it's scientific, it's truth. If it doesn't, you go back and you start with a new hypothesis. What did the so-called teachers' unions do to the scientific method? And because this is small for you guys, a small screen, I'm going to read it to you. This part that I highlighted in yellow is what they struck out of the scientific, they removed it from the scientific method. The part in green, I highlighted for you in green, they underscored it. These are the words they added in exchange. Okay, here's what they removed. Empirical evidence, valid scientific experimentation. Science, although inquiry-based, is verified through repetitive experimentation using the steps of the scientific method. They crossed that out. Changed it for scientific theory, empirically collected evidence. That's a communist twist, empirically collected. Makes it sound like it's empirical data, but it's not. Methodology, and it ends at scientific consensus. What did you guys get it? I hear the giggles. What does it mean? What's the Orwellian, language we're reading here? It means that if you agree with the unions and their anti-God, anti-science, anti-family, anti-gender, anti-everything agenda, then you're in consensus. And you get the money. You get the lab dollars. But you say that the vaccine works when it's never even been tested on anybody, you are in consensus and you get the money. You say, whoa, wait a minute. These haven't been tested and I think they might be dangerous. You get canceled. You don't get the money. That's how it works. Whoever would have thought that a so-called teacher union would be behind that? I thought they were for education. They're not. They're for destroying education because they are not who they claim to be. I told you earlier they're behind Black Lives Matter. Here's some proof. They had a business item in 2019. NEA will promote the Black Lives Matter League of Action in schools. I'm sure you see it now in your schools already. And Black Lives Matter, this was on the Black Lives Matter website. They pulled it once a bunch of us flagged it. We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure. Why would this so-called teacher union be in bed with an organization that wants to disrupt the family?
Follow the money.
Yeah, follow the money, for sure.
Follow the money.
But it's because they aren't who they say they are. They aren't a teacher union. Oh, I'm going to give a test in a minute. The answer is education mafia. You already know the answer. See what an easy teacher I am? I taught in public schools. I wasn't easy like that to my students, I'm just kidding. But the answer is education mafia when I asked the test. All right, this one, oh gosh, this is actually in Minnesota. I wish you could see this so much better. But I was here on the ground just supporting. Kim Crocker was helping me support some teachers. Those ones I told you always go to the NEA meetings on their own dollar and they get spit upon and everything. So this is how the NEA starts every one of their annual meetings, with protests. Closing down all the main arteries, your tax dollars fund all that. And so what were they doing? Protesting to abolish ICE. Yeah. And I found this photo on their website. They were proud of it. This one breaks my heart the most. This young lady that they were teaching to flip off the President of the United States. Yes. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to speak for all the teachers in this room. I taught for 28 years. There were a lot of presidents I didn't like. My students didn't know I didn't like them. My students had no idea. I taught my students to be patriotic, to be respectful of authority, to be respectful of their president and everyone. And now, with the education mafia in charge, hey, you're great, thanks. The education mafia, these kids are being taught to be disrespectful. Now, can we see it in the back with it that low, though? Can we see? Too low, too low. Like,
It's not just too low, it's just not big enough.
No, it's not big enough. Yeah. All right, but thank you. All right, next piece of evidence. So I told you, oh, it didn't advance. It advanced on my screen, but it didn't advance up there. I think something happened when you bumped that. Because it's advancing here, but not there. So I'm just going to tell you about this while he's fixing it. It's a picture of a new business item that the NEA passed. And in that new business item, they tell us that the NEA is in partnership with, now I need to look at it, so I don't say it wrong. In partnership with Southern Poverty Law Center, ACLU, GELSON, which is Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network. Their goal is to get sexualized material into elementary schools. And you all, this group knows Southern Poverty Law Center, right? Yes. They have their hate map. So why would a so-called teacher union be in partnership with a group that's putting Christians, Catholics, Jews, conservative groups, Republican groups on a hate map? Because they aren't who they say they are. And here's the test question. What are we rebranding the teachers' unions? The education. That was pretty good. I'll give you a C. I'm going to give that test again. Now, I'm going to keep going, even though it's not showing up there. The next slide that you were supposed to see is a picture of the union website, and it shows you a social justice toolkit for kids. This was to give you evidence of how they're working with Southern Poverty Law Center. On this social justice toolkit, children can click on live links to Southern Poverty Law Center, and they can report you or me or their friends to the Southern Poverty Law Center, report us as haters. This reminds you of Nazi Germany, anybody? That's what we're living. This is communism. This is how communists work. So what makes you a hater? Well, you might think marriage is between a man and a woman. You might think there's only two genders. You might believe in God. You might, I don't know, defend your friend when they get beat up by the bad kid in school. Whatever it is you do that's against their agenda, you're considered a hater. And if Travis is here, maybe he could help us figure this out too. The next slide, oh, it's coming back. The next slide is some evidence. I told you the PTA is corrupt. This one says the PTA has credibility. That's why we use the PTA as a front. And it was a union member that stated that. This next slide, I think, is probably the most important slide in the deck, and I'll just read it to you from memory. It's our American founders told us something in their writings. They told us there's only one way to keep a free republic. Oh, great, thank you. One way to keep a free republic. You have to have a well-educated, moral citizenry that can self-govern. Because guess what? In a constitutional free republic, you're the king, I'm the king. We, the people, are the sovereign in this country. That's why we vote for representatives. That's why we don't have a king. Our representatives represent us. They're not supposed to lord it over us. They're not supposed to look down their nose at us and tell us their hands are tied. Hogwash. You work for us. We, the people, are king. So how do we remain king? How do we keep a free republic? We have to be well-educated, moral, so we can self-govern. So what did the education mafia do? They attacked the schools so that they could make our kids uneducated, immoral, so they cannot self-govern. Why? Because then it's easy for tyrants to take over. So it's so important that we help our children and grandchildren to be well-educated. The schools aren't teaching them. They're teaching them lies. Well-educated, moral, keep them away from this transgender stuff and all these lies, so they can self-govern. So they can stand up to a tyrant and say, no, I'm not taking your shot. No, I'm not wearing your mask. No, I'm not locking myself. I'm going to have parties with everybody I want. Like Dad said, the people who caved, the kids you still see wearing masks in broad daylight on a sunny day, are totally, completely indoctrinated. They're ready to fall to tyrants because of this education mafia. So our founders told us that. And so I want you to know that the unions they're communists. They've never hidden that they're communists. There's several books about it. Bella Dodd's School of Darkness is a great book to read. She was a teacher who was on the inside, who became a communist because she was a union leader. The union was run by communists. It still is. So it's no secret. But there was a man who worked in the FBI in the 1950s. You may have heard of him, W. Cleon Skousen. Skousen saw communist infiltration in our government in the 50s. So he left the FBI and he wrote a book called The Naked Communist. It's still a bestseller, great read, easy read. And I'm going to share with you just 5 of the goals, of the 45 goals. He wrote 45 goals of the Communist Party in his book to warn us. They have achieved 44 of the 45 goals. The only one they have not achieved is, what's the word they use? Discredit the FBI. Discredit, they have discredit and dismantle the FBI. They discredited them. We can't let them dismantle it. We got to clean it up. Because if they want it dismantled, it's because they don't want the FBI getting in their way. So we have to clean it up. It's the only goal they haven't accomplished. But they're halfway there. Goal 17, get control of the schools. Use them as transmission belts for socialism and communist propaganda. Soften the curriculum. Put the party line in textbooks. Get control of the teacher associations. They did it all. Here's a few goals that'll shock you. 29, discredit the Constitution. 25, break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography. 40, discredit the family as an institution. Encourage promiscuity and easy divorce. You thought all this was happening on accident. It was a plan. It's all by design that families have fallen apart. 41, emphasize the need to raise children away from the negative influence of parents. Wow. You have to destroy the family in order to destroy the republic so that tyrants can rule. Okay, I'm going to go over this quick. This is just evidence. The NEA, over 35 years, did 3 surveys asking their teacher members, are you conservative? Are you liberal? And you know what came out? The majority of teachers are conservative. No surprise to me, I was on the inside with them. But they want you to think they're all a bunch of far left radicals. The truth is, only 12%, 8%, and 13% said they were liberal. Had they used the term leftist, I think it would have been even lower. But 100% of the money goes to leftist causes. So is the so-called teacher union representing teachers? Are they a traditional union?
No.
What are they? The education mafia. B minus. You're getting a little better. But I'm still giving you homework. You're going to have to really shine in the homework. All right. So the average teacher pays $1,000 a year in dues. I know teachers pay $1,200, $1,400, but this is easy now. Even public school kids can do this problem. So average teacher salary, $1,000. The state union's getting $737. The national's getting $200. So that means the local would keep $63 in this case. I show you this because the majority of teachers, when you go out and try to talk to them and help them understand what's going on here, they're going to say, but I like my local. I really like my local union. Or your local union is getting chump change. The majority of your money is going up to an evil agenda that is sexualizing children, destroying the American liberties, our republic, totally attacking Christians. I have a Christian teacher who was falsely accused a couple weeks ago. She called us for help. You know, because she's a Christian. They said she was a bully. She's not a bully. She's the sweetest little teacher I ever met. All right, so let's just do some quick math here. NEA has 3 million members. AFT, the smaller union, that's the one with Randy Weingarten, that really nasty lady that everybody hates. She's the biggest gift to our cause because she's so awful that it makes people hate the unions more. That's great. You see, she's more transparent of what they really are. So her smaller union has 1.7 million members. Add those up, that's 4.7 million. Now I said average teachers paying $1,000. Most pay more, but let's just say it's $1,000. Easy math. That's almost $5 billion with a B annually that these unions collect tax-free. So you wonder how they're getting all this money to destroy our republic and to put all these radical people in office in both parties. They've captured the Democrat Party. Captured. Done. Republican Party's getting captured. We better fight it off. That's how they're doing it with all this money. This is just the education unions. We're not talking CDC, FBI, DOJ, DMV, VA, cops, firefighters, the list goes on. Okay, post office. The millions of people that are government union and that were forced to pay them for all these years, they don't have to pay them anymore. Most of them don't know that. I'll bet it's $100 billion they're collecting annually. I don't know. I haven't seen all the numbers. It's a lot of money. Tax free. All right. I'm going to skip that one. It's too hard for you to see. Okay, so it's homework time. Yep. Yeah, thank you. Perfect time. Homework time. I'm asking you, please help us. I can only reach a few teachers. I'm one person running a little organization. My husband and I run the organization. We're both volunteers. We fund it ourselves. And I'm not even retired yet. So we need your help. We can't reach everybody without your help. So your homework is, and I have cards with QR codes like that with Sue Witherington. So if you want cards, great. If you buy the book, this card will already be in it. So, or you can take a picture of the QR code. So when you go to this page on our website's kidsadcountry.org, you're going to see these little buttons: adopt a teacher, union exit, school options, all these different things for free that we help you do. The two that are your homework are adopt a teacher and union exit. So if you were to click adopt a teacher, you would see this. And we have this flyer here tonight too. Sue has them, or it's in your book if you bought one. Adopt a teacher just means this, easy. You find a teacher that you already know. I don't give you a teacher. Someone you know, someone that trusts you. Even if the teacher's not in the public school, any teacher, find them, adopt them, put your arm around them. And you're going to educate them, embrace them, love on them, and tell them what I told you tonight. This is what these unions really do. They don't represent you. This is how our schools are getting destroyed. So I need you to adopt a teacher. Once you've adopted them, and by the way, I know you're going to forget most everything I said. That's why I wrote that book. Just let them read the book. Let them read the book. They'll see it all. It's written in a teacher-friendly manner. You might have to bribe them. Hey, look, if you read the first chapters, I'll have you over for tea. And then talk about it, to get them to read it. Once you've convinced them, send them to our website to click on Union Exit. We walk them through it. Step 1 Teacher Toolkit answers all the lies they've been told. Tells them the truth. Step 2 gets them out of the union. Step 3, the number one reason teachers won't leave the union is because they think they need the union's liability insurance. Their liability insurance is inferior. It will only defend you if you're sued, and it's only $1 million. These private organizations will defend you even if you have a job action against you. You're falsely accused, and it's $2 million, and it costs a fraction. It's $200 a year instead of $1,200 in dues. I brought my book tonight. If you want to buy a copy, they're at the back table with Sue. They're $20. I don't charge tax. It's just $20. Cash is easiest, but we also take credit card, no checks. Sorry. And then finally, Dale said that I could tell you about our organization a little bit. So for Kids in Country, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. My husband and I started it because we couldn't find an organization that understood teachers and that would work with us and help us, at least at the time. We know a lot more organizations now, like all you guys, to help us to really reach teachers and help people to understand what's going on, that these unions are not our voice. So we consider ourselves the voice of America's great teachers. And anyway, I told you earlier that my husband and I just work as volunteers. We do this 24/7. He's retired. I'm not, but I do this. And if you would like to give to our efforts, we would be oh so grateful. We need everything. $5 gifts. We need people that give monthly. We need people that can give a lot. We need everything. We're trying very hard to, we've already created a national ad campaign to expose the unions, but we've got to raise money to do it. So unfortunately, it costs money to do these things. And my husband and I aren't rich, so or we fund it all if we could. So if you'd like to give, you can take a picture of that QR code, or if you can't see it, Sue has some extra ones in the back table, and you can get one from her. So I'm being given the hook, so I gotta go. But it's been really great talking to you. I feel a lot of wonderful, familiar faces, and thank you so much. Minnesota, my second home. Notice how we look like? Same sweater. I need to know where she got that dress.
In Iowa.
Let me see here. Mary asked me to share the schedule again. Some of you have been asking what Rebecca's schedule is going to be. Now that you've heard her, you probably want to get other people there, right? Yeah. Right? And, okay, people flock into the back so they can get the book and get the QR code, and they can donate more. That would be great. All right, here's... Okay, and she signed the books. So they're probably worth $500 a book. You get it for 20. Okay, so here's the schedule. Here's the schedule. Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, Mercy Road Church in Burnsville. I think the address is 12156 Nickwood Avenue. Could be, but Mercy Road Church, you can look it up, Burnsville, 10 a.m. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll be at Harvest Church in Rochester. Harvest Church, Rochester. And start time there is 5:15 p.m. Doors open at 4:45. Sunday, she will be at Land of Promise. Now, if you go look up Land of Promise, it's going to show it in Buffalo because it's on BB Lake, and it's right where Buffalo and St. Michael meet. So the address is there. Your GPS will get it if you type in the GPS address and say St. Michael, not Buffalo. The Buffalo one will put you in the lake. The other one will put you at the lake. So that's 10:30 start time Sunday morning. That's going to be a church service. She is going to speak at the church service. When the church service is over, there's an event there. This is a big 40 acres of parkland and lakeland and so forth. Picnic, there's going to be a band, there's going to be all kinds of commotion going on. We'll have her back and forth during the afternoon. That is Sunday. And then the last event, no, I take it back, she has two more. Monday night, 6 p.m. in Little Falls at the DFW in Little Falls. So you can just look it that up. And we'll be there from 6 to 8 p.m. in Little Falls, Monday night. And then Tuesday night at the Thai Twist restaurant for SD32. And that start time is going to be
5:30 social and 6:30 start. And that's Thai Twist Restaurant right off of Highway 65 and 109. You can let me know. I've got flyers for it with me here.
Okay, so that's the schedule. If you didn't get it all, grab me. If you go back to the table, we'll help you individuate as best we can. But thank you so much for being here, Mary. Thank you for having
Thank you.
Rebecca.
Thank you. Just two quick things. The Child Protection League book bag is floating around in the room somewhere. Do you know where it is? If it's at your table, raise your hand. Thank you, hon. Would you take it back to the CPL table for us? Terrific. They are good for purchase. Good. And I want Lyondale to come up here real quick. You had some things you wanted to announce. Come on up. He doesn't need a microphone, so. You'll hear him better than if he used a mic. Go ahead.
Just want to bring to your attention, in case you don't know, there's a Republican Seniors meeting once a month. It's at the Knights of Columbus in Bloomington. That's on American Boulevard.
It's on American Boulevard, like Lake Street or Lindale, and just south of 494. It starts at 9:30 in the morning to check in, and then 10 o'clock this month, which will be next Tuesday. They'll having Donna Mercer, the deputy chair of the Republican Party in Minnesota, will be there to talk. So if you're old enough to be a senior, there's something else to go and do. There's a St. Anthony Village parade tomorrow, August 4th. That's supporting the S339 Republicans. So go and walk with them and show people that there are Republicans in their area. And the following Saturday, Sunday, Adam, or Saturday? Saturday, it's the New Brighton Stockyard Days parade. So these are SD39 and SD40 Republicans. Come and show your support. Get up off the couch and go wave at your neighbors.
We got lots to do. So thank you everybody for being here. It was a beautiful night, but thank you for sharing the evening with us. Let's give another round of applause for Rebecca Patriots. And then I have flyers for the Senate District 32 BPOU meeting on Tuesday night. Just let me know, I can give you one. We won't see you in September. Go see Pete Hegseth, your Citizens Council for Health Freedom, but we'll be back October 5th with Sheriff Richard Mack. Good night, everyone.